What I liked most in this chapter of My Hero Academia was the sort of individual rivalries that we got between people like Momo and Kendo, and the newfound rivalry of Tokoyami and Kurohiro. If that is how you pronounce his name, I don't know, but you know who I'm talking about, the guy with the quirk black, which allows him to merge with anything that is indeed black or dark enough, I suppose, because he can merge with Dark Shadow as well, which isn't really entirely black, but we're not gonna get too much into that. What I truly enjoyed seeing in this chapter was, well, exactly that. You know, we get to see how Kendo communicates with Momo prior to their match, and we really do find out how Kendo feels about the difference between Momo and Kendo in terms of how their grades are, what their quirk is, and so on and so forth. How some people would push them together as some kind of thing, while Kendo herself, she doesn't really feel that similar to Momo at all. A third sort of individual, I wouldn't say a rivalry, but definitely a interaction that we got this chapter was something really interesting between All Might and Midnight, although it was mostly on Midnight's part. Wasn't really any chemistry between the two, but we get to see how Midnight is really hyped about this whole thing with the youth. You know, she is really into this whole match thing, and you know, to some people this is gonna seem very weird, because I remember seeing someone mention that this is a similar behavior to what Mineta is having towards, well, girls. And you know, that could seem a little bit alarming when you think about it, because Midnight is a lot older than these students, but I don't really think it's anything sexual, of course. I think she's just showing her emotion in a very strange way, which could end up looking very odd from a certain perspective. But yeah, and All Might, he's not really into it as much as we can see, because I think All Might even says to Midnight that, you know, he thinks she needs help or something like that. You know, he finds her behavior a bit too extreme, and you know, when All Might thinks something's a bit too extreme, it's bad. One thing that I do hope we get to see in this match that we're gonna get, because this chapter obviously focused what happened in between the first match and the upcoming match rather than actually the match itself, which is interesting. But in the upcoming match, one thing that I do want to see, of course, and I think I speak for a lot of people, I want to see Tokoyami as well as Momo having some difficulties, because last match, while there were some difficulties on some ends, I felt like the match was really short, and I really want this next match to be a lot longer. I want it to be a lot more in depth, and so that we get to see how they struggle and overcome these obstacles, whatever they may be, in the best way possible, and you know, in a thorough way. Because right now, the way they handled Kaminari, Suyu, and everyone else, it wasn't bad by any means, but it felt a bit quick in my opinion. I believe I said this in my last review, that it was extremely fast. I may not have said that, but I definitely thought about saying it. But in between these matches, of course, we get to see how Kurohiro really approaches Tokoyami, and you know, he's very much recognizing something in Tokoyami that he sees in himself, which I believe is this whole thing where he's not really into this whole idolizing thing that some people happen to be into. But Tokoyami, he's not really the type of character who wants to be in the spotlight. He prefers to be in the shadows, you know, not just because of his quirk, but also because he happens to have that type of personality. It really reflects on his quirk, and Kurohiro seems to be in a very similar position, although his personality is not quite like Tokoyami's, because as we can see at the end of the chapter, he has a lot more aggression going for him than Tokoyami generally does. So I suppose what I really hope that this upcoming match provides is some development, or at least progression, on Kendo, Kurohiro, Momo, and Tokoyami's part, because that is something that this chapter really built up, and it's kind of teasing us that is what this is gonna be about, these four characters, at least primarily. Obviously there are more people in their teams, which means that there's gonna be something more coming as well, and you know, I don't have a problem with that, but I really hope that this match focuses on these four and not trying to like really shove in everyone and then have this match be really short, you know what I mean? So if it's gonna be a short match, they really need to limit the amount of people they focus on, but if it's gonna be a really long match, I don't necessarily mind if we get something on everyone. Like the Mushroom Girl is someone that needs some attention, I think, because I know a lot of people who have an interest in this character just because we don't know enough about her and stuff like that. And, you know, in this match we may actually get to find out more about her, like what her quirk is more in depth, because we know the name of her quirk and, you know, you can always speculate exactly what her quirk is for, but so far we don't really know exactly what it is. And, you know, you could say the same about a lot of people from Class 1B. So yes, from Class 1B, that is something that we really could learn. But then there's also the character progression of Momo, because Momo needs a lot of character progression. This match could really help her with that. Same with Tokoyami. We know we don't see enough Tokoyami fights nowadays, and since we learned that he was actually interning with Hawks, then I really want to see something extra. I want to see what he's learned during his time interning with Hawks. Anyway, that's gonna be this review for My Hero Academia chapter 198. It's not really a very long review this week because firstly I'm sick, and secondly, well, it was just an in-between match sort of chapter, you know, not much really happened, so I don't have much to say. But it's mostly because I'm sick and I really don't want to spend too much time YouTubing, you know what I mean? So I'd love to know what you guys think about this chapter down in the comments, and if you did, be sure to Detroit smash that like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. This has been Chaotic Plus, and remember everybody, Toga is waifu, Toga is laifu.